And breaking news has just been leaked about the Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel crash at the end of the Malaysian Grand Prix this year. Now, when watching the footage from my point of view, it looked like Sebastian Vettel just deliberately drove into the side of Lance Stroll. Why would he drive into him? And as we saw, it looked like Sebastian Vettel was trying to pick up as much tyre tread off the track to try and make sure that the car made the way in, and also the fact that Lance was also trying to get off the line and trying to collect as much tyre debris as possible to make sure it stuck to the tyres so that the car weighs more upon weigh-in. So it looked like they were both going for the same thing. But when you look at it, it kind of looks like Sebastian deliberately drove into the side of him. It reminds me of when he drove into the side of Lewis Hamilton earlier this year at Baku. It's the exact same sort of mentality that we've seen from Sebastian Vettel twice this year. However, during the post interviews, he solely denies that he had any part to play in this accident with Lance, and that it was 100% Lance's fault and not his fault in the slightest. And Lance just said that he just drove into the side of him. So that incident was kind of settled, no penalties, and Ferrari were able to repair the car, and there was no need for any gearbox changes. So they were quite lucky there, considering the state of the car afterwards. Now, what was the sort of conspiracy and speculation is actually based around the fact that he took the steering wheel with him. It seemed very strange, considering drivers after an accident are meant to put the steering wheel back on the car. All drivers know this. And someone like Sebastian Vettel, who's crashed over the years and been in Formula One for such a long time, knows this, and it is kind of automatic. You step out of the car, you put the steering wheel back on. So it's very strange that he did this, and considering most drivers go into autopilot and just automatically do it. So they claim that Ferrari are running variable brake ducting, that they can close off on the straights for drag advantage. So they claim that they did this and they crashed the car before it could be sent to Parc Ferme, and the steering wheel with the additional button was taken back by Sebastian Vettel. And this would explain their fantastic pace during the entire weekend at Malaysia. They were absolutely flying, both Kimi and Sebastian. However, it's interesting how they both had problems. Maybe because they were running this variable and it hadn't been tested properly before, and it is quite exploratory. So the chances are there might be some problems with it. Now, Ferrari are no stranger to conspiracy and speculation and bending the rules and doing things like this, so it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if this was their intention and they did deliberately smash the car so it couldn't go back to Parc Ferme, and they took the steering wheel just to make sure that no one found out about the additional buttons on the steering wheel. This was probably just on Sebastian's car and not Kimi Räikkönen's car, because it didn't even start the race. I mean, whether they deliberately didn't start the race with Kimi and just took the car off the grid to avoid the fact that their second car would go back to Parc Ferme and be analysed, including the steering wheel, possibly this is why they did it. They just ran one car deliberately, and Sebastian was requested at the end to crash the car, like we saw with Alonso in Singapore when Nelson Piquet smashed the car deliberately to ensure that Alonso won the race. So it could be a similar situation like that. And with so much to lose at Ferrari right now, and the fact that they need an advantage, they need to close the gap to Mercedes. If Sebastian is actually going to win this year, they have to be bending the rules. They need to be taking risks because they haven't got anything to lose. And Ferrari have a long history of cheating and conspiracy. The most obvious one that I can remember off the top of my head was the 1998 Grand Prix, where Michael Schumacher was given a drive-through penalty, and he decided to take the penalty at the last lap, and driving through the pit completed his penalty, and he finished the race at the exact same time, managing to win the race. Technically, But he still crossed the line, albeit it was in the pits. He did cross the line and finish the race and served his penalty. The other one I remember was in 1997 when Michael Schumacher attempted to crash out Jacques Villeneuve in the final race to win the championship. But Jacques' car survived and he went on to win the championship, and Michael was disqualified. And going back a little bit further, the weekend of the Pacific Grand Prix in April, the Ferrari test driver Nicola Larini, who replaced Jean Alesi for the early part of the season, leaked to the Italian media that he had used traction control during the practice session for the race, which then led to more speculation and suspicion that the team had been using illegal aids to help them in the races. They obviously denied it. However, their test driver said he had it. So obviously that was another big conspiracy. And in the early days, Ferrari were always questioned about their engine sizes. And it was said that they would run larger than max capacity engines. Let's say, a 2.7 litre engine instead of a 2.5 litre engine. And this is when engines weren't always checked. So, it wouldn't surprise me. However, I think they've got away with it. Whether they're running these this brake ducting system this weekend, I don't know. However, I hope they do look into it and the car is checked at the end of qualifying and the race. I'm hoping that if they are running this technology, they're caught, because they fully deserve to. So anyway, make sure to subscribe and like the video, and comment if you have any thoughts or any questions or any further theories that you've heard. So just to make it a little bit more interesting.